Hello YouTube, it's Most Wanted here. I just wanted to create a short video to update my channel and show you guys what I've been doing on a private whitelist server that I've been playing on. And I'm here in a slightly newly crafted town here. There's about 10 players or so on the server that are whitelisted, and they had bases all over the place, some in different dimensions, and people decided to go ahead and come together and create a town. Some people moved, some people created um, kind of placeholder buildings and things like that. I pretty much completely moved. The server owner here made this cool looking workshop with lots of machines for people to use, and I pretty much moved mine. I compressed it down a little bit, uses less space. We're each given 4 chunks to work with, which is plenty. But I needed a decent amount of room for a farm. I didn't want to put the farm underground, so I kind of put it at ground level, and looks a bit more natural that way. What I'm growing is everything I need to make biofuel, and I'm using the Mine Factory Reloaded harvester and planter for some things, and other things I'm using these IC2 crops, these little sticks you can see, and that allows me to grow plants without needing to worry about how the planter sees the plants, and I can create a more artistic looking farm. Normally if you had a planter, you would have a difficulty segmenting the plants that you were growing underneath the farm. Well, I'm using the IC2 crops, which the harvester can harvest the material from the plant, but the plant stays inside the crop. So it goes from a full-size plant down to a plant like this, and then it grows back up again into one that could be harvested again without too much trouble. I used to have source blocks like in the gravel road here. It looked a little annoying, so I took advantage of the open block mod that's part of this Direwolf20 pack, and open block water tanks, and these sprinklers can water a 9x9 block. So I've got 4 of them, and they're covering all these IC2 crops. I've got some source blocks along the outside, which isn't too much of a big deal or hassle. Of course, you don't need to water the trees, but this way I can have a nice looking crop farm without being forced to try and create crazy looking farms that don't really look good or work well too much. So what I have growing here is I've got carrots on both sides, I've got potatoes on both sides, and I've got, this is pumpkin, and then over here I've got melons, I've got dandelions and roses. I've got on these jungle wood, I've got cocoa, although I think you're supposed to be able to crop cocoa, and then you're supposed to be able to crop netherwort, but I've got it growing on soul sand. And then cactus can sit next to a cropped an IC2 crop, and you plant whatever you want in the crop. So I'm making use of the space that you're forced to have between cactus, because I guess these aren't considered full-size blocks, and the cactus doesn't mind having them next to them. So I've got cactus and sugarcane along this side, and I've got cactus and wheat on that side. I don't use the wheat or the cactus for the biofuel, so I don't need a lot of, I don't need the sugarcane or the wheat for the bio farm, so I don't really need a lot of it. But everything else is used for the farm. Underneath, I've got a set of, I've got a room underneath that deals with the farm's output, and then upstairs I've got the smelting and the sorting and the crafting going on up there. So I'll go ahead and show you the automation I set up for dealing with the farm. Here's where the harvester is, and in this setup I'm using a lot of these extra utilities pipes and nodes and filters and sorting pipes and things like that, and you'll see how they work and how I use them. Here's the chest. Above this transfer node is a chest that the harvester puts into, and then above this stone cover is a liquid node. So we got item node, liquid node, and they both send their materials down this same pipe, and then I've got RF going up the pipe as well. And it's one pipe, and it's able to do all of those different types of material. This filter pipe is filtering the output of the farm, and it's letting power pass through it. Full-size melons go straight down. The cactus goes out to the left. To the right, melon, pumpkin, and wheat. The melon are melon slices, full-size pumpkin and wheat go to the right. And then anything that isn't one of those, and this is a filter that's inverted, anything that's not one of these is allowed to pass through yellow, which I believe this is supposed to be yellow. I don't know why it looks gray. It just does. Don't know why. Don't ask. So I think it's a texture pack actually. But so left is the cactus that just goes in the redstone furnace, which outputs to the transfer node and it continues on. Down was the full-size melons, which we can't turn into seeds like we need for the biofuel. We have to break them into slices first, and the placer and the breaker take care of that for me. It pushes it into this cyclic assembler. So again, I'm getting slices coming in from the breaker, and I'm also getting slices from this filter here. Sorry. This one here is pushing down slices. Then I've got wheat coming forward, and I've got pumpkins continuing on. And here's where we're creating the wheat. And then here is where we're creating the pumpkin seeds. So we're getting melon seeds here, pumpkin seeds here, and wheat bales here. They're all configured through their sides to output into this chest here, which has another item transfer node. So all that comes out of there, the green dye comes out of there, and they're all allowed to pass through. And they're passing through a couple of these deep storage units through these sorting pipes. And if it's a hay bale, and there's hay bale in here, then hay bales will be forced into the storage unit until the storage unit is full, which, I mean, it's not going to get full anytime soon. Same goes for the sugarcane and the apples and the wood. So they're all kind of getting forced. I also have this standard oak barrel here with the poisonous potatoes. It's pretty useless. I could potentially replace this with a trash can, but I just haven't done it yet. And then we come across another filter, which is basically just to sort out wood, to make sure wood doesn't come into this deep storage unit, because we're able to process the wood faster than we're receiving it from the farm. And if I didn't do that, then the deep storage unit would become empty and could be filled by whatever comes down the pipe. Even if there was a sorting pipe, because there's no interface for the sorting pipe, it just knows that if there's a storage unit of some type, if there's a place that it can push items into and it's empty, then it'll push the next available item into it, and then that'll be the one that is chosen. But when wood comes into our deep storage unit, it gets pulled out via this transfer node here into either the sawmill or these first two iron furnaces. The iron furnace will accept the wood at the top. It already has planks at the bottom, because in the sawmill we're turning wood into planks, but we also have a secondary output of sawdust, and then those are going into the transfer node here, and then getting sent along underneath these iron furnaces, as well as the one in the end. This iron furnace I'm just using for just random things. If I need to smelt some glass, some sand into glass, or I need to cook some food, or whatever the case might be, I don't have to worry about, I can always just come down here and throw it in here and never have to worry about, is there fuel in it, or is there power to it, or anything like that. When the sawdust becomes full, hits 64, then the sawmill will completely stop until all the planks are gone, and then it'll start to filter out the sawdust into the transfer node, and it'll get sent to this deep storage unit. And then as soon as there's space available for more sawdust, the sawmill will crank up again, It's pretty much, it takes care of itself. Then it hits this particular filter pipe, which is purely just filtering water. And the way you filter water in this is, or any liquid actually, is you have to have this item filter, which gives you up to 9 types, and you'd have to put a bucket in. If you put a bucket in once, then the item is a bucket of water. But if you click it again, it becomes a source block of water. Same with any liquid. And let's see, what do I want? Blue. And that's how you use item pipes, filter pipes to filter liquids. You have to grab one of these filters, and you have to double click. You have to click twice inside of one of the item filters to tell it to filter source blocks, not just buckets. And the reason why I'm doing that is I don't want, you know, the item thingies, mabobs, transfer nodes to try and look down these directions, because the way these transfer nodes work is as soon as an item enters the inventory, it'll begin searching for locations where it can potentially go. And if you don't have a filter that says no, you can't go this way, or no, you can't go that way, it'll spend its time searching and failing to search in that direction, which means your whole network would be a little bit less efficient. So these filters are kind of important. They're not super expensive. It's mostly dyes, and it's really easy to use. Items that pass that filter, which will be everything but water, pass that filter, will hit this sorting pipe. And just like the deep storage units, if apples, cocoa beans, netherwort, and well, potentially dirt, come through this pipe, then they will attempt to fill the planter if there's room. If there's not room, then it'll continue on. So right now, if saplings came through, they couldn't go in. But if a netherwort came through, then it would get pulled into the planter. You notice here, I'm not filtering at all as far as where I'm going to be planting each of these items, because netherwort in my farm is only going on soul sand, cocoa beans only going on jungle wood, and apple oak saplings are only going on untilled soil. So I don't really have to tell it where to plant, because it's only going to plant where I want it to be planted. It then passes this transfer node, the energy transfer node. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. And then it could either come to this block, which will tell it, no, you can't go down this way, because this is going to only accept sticks in this direction, and it's only going to accept liquids in this direction. So items are going to be forced down this direction through more sorting pipes, which, just like the planter, will only accept what's in it. And if the inventory is full, it'll bypass those and come to this row of deep storage units where we have even more filter or sorting pipes. And this will be like the final destination for items that can't fit into the planters. But if items don't have a destination, but they somehow get into the network, they will end up in this diamond chest. And that's pretty much how it's configured. I do have a backups. I'm using the deep storage units in case for some reason the farm fails. Either we stop producing power, water stops being fed to the sprinklers, and the tilled soil becomes untilled, and it starts being planted by tree saplings, or something else crazy happens. Then to prevent that from happening, I'm also force feeding out of all of these deep storage units into the bioreactors to make sure that what's in them stays in them as long as we have items in the deep storage unit. So the only way to have a catastrophic failure is if not only the farm goes down for long periods, but material in the deep storage units end up running out. That's the only time when the bioreactors would completely stop producing biofuel. And the cool thing about these guys is you can have up to 9 different items. The more unique the items, the more efficient the bioreactors will be, and it produces biofuel without needing energy. So these 3 blocks are producing quite a bit of biofuel. It was enough to not only use all I needed, but to fill that tank up in 2 days. But it also doesn't require power. So you just feed it items, you pull out the liquids, and that's pretty much it. The liquid's coming out of these transfer nodes, going through the filter pipe, and it's pretty much making its way to the tank. I don't have any reason to send it anywhere else but the tank, although I could potentially send it to the biofuel generator, and some of it, but just because of the way it's piped, I have to do it slightly different way. Each of these open blocks tanks that are designed for water have to be filtered so that the tanks don't fill up with another liquid. Since we have sludge coming from the harvester, we have biofuel coming from the bioreactor, and then we've got this aqueous accumulator. There's a lot of liquid moving through the pipes. If this tank ever emptied, then the first available batch of any type of liquid would potentially fill the tank. So that's why I've got another item filter filtering with water source blocks, so it doesn't allow any other liquid to enter the tank, because, well, the sprinklers don't work with sludge or anything else, so they're only going to work with water, and you want to make sure that the farm stays up and running. Of course, the sludge is going to come and hit the sludge boiler, and then the sludge boiler outputs all sorts of cool stuff: sand, dirt, clay, dried dirt, hardened sand, hardened dirt. Some of this stuff would be cool to set up in the world, kind of as accents. Some flesh heat sand, peat, some tainted soil, mud balls, piles of ash. Piles of ash can be turned into charcoal, and that's all cool stuff to play around with. The aqueous accumulator just pumps out water through this filter here. I've got an ender tank here. This is the remote one that's just not currently set up to do anything right now. And then the iron tank here is for the biofuel, over 6,000 buckets so far. And the output of that tank is down here somewhere. It's sending biofuel to this ender tank, to a biofuel generator, and to this unifier. I didn't actually need to use the extra utilities pipes for this, since it's not moving power, it's not moving items, it's only moving liquids. But I just had so much of it laying around, and I hadn't made any hardened glass, so I just went with what I had on hand. But that's how I'm getting biofuel to the biofuel generator, and this guy produces, it's able to run all my machines and produce power both in RF and MJ via this transfer node. And the transfer node works pretty much exactly the same way as the item nodes and the liquid nodes. They receive power from the block, and then they search the pipe network for machines, and that's how it's sending power down to these machines and the harvester and all the other cool stuff. So it's pretty much, this one biofuel generator is running the cyclic assemblers, the breaker replacer, redstone furnace, the harvester, my planter, and the sludge boiler without a problem. It's keeping its buffer of energy. It can soak up as much biofuel as it can from the liquid thingamabob, the liquid transfer node, and can put out. Also, I've got a ender tank midway that I can set up remotely, additional ender tanks to power more machines. I've got one set up upstairs, I'll show you in a minute. And then the unifier, I'm using to turn biofuel. It uses the OR dictionary, and I'm using it to turn biofuel into ethanol, but it can also do things like turn multiple types of copper into a preferred type. You can do the same thing with tin or anything else inside the OR dictionary. You just put what you prefer in, say, I don't know, TE style copper, and then you put copper from any other mod in, it'll output in TE style copper. And it's a pretty cool thing for items, but also for liquids, because then I can get EU from these biogenerators to run my compressor, my macerator, and my CESU, which I'm using to charge my power suit. That's all the EU I'm using at the moment. I'm not end game anywhere near end game at the moment. Just basically starting. This floor is mainly just to produce power and to get a little bit of automation, some food, and some other cool stuff. I've got an iron tank here for oil that I've been picking up in the world. I've got another one here for sewage, and I'll potentially make another one for sludge. Why pick up sludge and sewage? Well, you know what a sludge boiler can do. Sewage can be turned into industrial fertilizer, which could potentially speed up my farm. All we need to do is grab a machine and turn it into it using the sewage here. So why not? You know, right? I've got them colored to the same tanks. They're both black, black, black. I'll probably put another black, black, black on the other tank. That way I only need to carry one tank around. It'll only output into the one that I'm putting into, and I don't have to worry about having multiple color tanks. It makes it a lot more simple to deal with and all that. So that's pretty much my basement. I'm going to go upstairs now and show you what I've done up here. I've chose not to go with the standard bank of engines and rows of TE or IC2 furnaces, just because I found this Tinker Smeltery to be really efficient in doubling the ores at a rate that just can't be compared by any other machine in the game, and it does it so much more efficiently that as long as you can output the metals or sort the metals before you put it into the machine, there's no limit to how many metals you can smelt and how quickly you can smelt them, based on the fact that these smelteries can smelt things in parallel fashion. So in other words, I have a room where I could smelt 64 blocks at once. I can't necessarily make it smelt faster, but if it's not smelting fast enough, then more pile in, more pile in, more pile in, until I'm smelting up to 64 blocks at a time. The downside to the smeltery is if you've got liquid forms of some metals, they can mix and create new ones. So in other words, gold and silver can make electrum, and tin and copper can make bronze. So I want to be able to pull out of the liquids as quickly as I'm generating them, so that they don't run the risk of mixing. So really important, I've got 2 transfer nodes here for liquids with lots and lots of upgrades in them, and they pull out pretty quick, but also where they're pushing items into needs to have a capacity for what I'm trying to do. If I had these guys sent directly to a set of casting basins, then the casting basins can only hold 9 ingots worth of liquid. As soon as that 9th ingot was there, then the transfer node would be stuck waiting for the basin to generate the block, and I could potentially have some mixed metal ingots sitting inside of the casting basin, or the smeltery. So what I've done is I've used some generic Buildcraft tanks, which hold 16 buckets worth each, and I've filtered these so that they're always going to go into, liquids are always going to go into the same tanks, which are going to push into the same liquid transfer nodes and push into the same liquid basins. So if I get some ore in, but it's not quite enough to create a block, then that liquid will sit there until there is enough to make a full block, and then the block will be made and it'll be pulled out. And the reason I use the tank and the transfer node also is the tank holds 16 buckets and the transfer node can hold 8. So that's roughly 81 ingots worth of metal and potentially 18 blocks of metal. So if I do get, you know, a good bunch of the same ore, I don't have to worry about it backing up into the transfer node and then potentially mixing. That's the hardest part about setting up the smeltery and doing it in a large scale setup, is you want to make sure that you don't have metals mixing, and having tanks and transfer nodes together above a casting bin, and that the rate the transfer node can push items into the casting bin. What you'll see is if there's enough liquid, it will in 1 second it'll fill the casting bin. Next second the casting bin will harden into a block, and the next second it'll pull it out into this ender chest over here that I have set up. So it could do a block of metal every 3 seconds or so via this retrieval node, which, like the retrieval node downstairs, it searches inventory on its network for items that it can pull into this chest. And this is the same chest that I have as my quarry output, which is up here. And I've got another node here that's pulling out. If it's an ore that's to be smelted, then it goes down blue. Otherwise, it goes down red. Same for the lava. It's designated to go down blue to top off the smeltery. The amount of lava used to smelt ore compared to, you know, generating EU or MJ for a machine to smelt the same amount, there's just no comparison. So you could almost manually harvest the lava yourself without too much trouble and keep this guy running. Whereas if you're trying to manually harvest lava to feed an engine to keep, you know, a bunch of machines running, it just wouldn't be possible. So anything that's not being set to the smeltery goes down red. And then here I have another ender tank with biofuel. This one's just designed to power this generator, which the only thing that this generator is doing is it's running, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 9 cyclic assemblers, so it's not really needing to draw that much. These guys are crafting, this one's crafting cobblestone into compressed cobblestone. This one is crafting compressed into double compressed, and this one is crafting double compressed into triple, and then it's sending its output into this barrel here. So I've got 26 triple compressed cobblestone sitting up there, which is quite a bit. I'm only singly compressing this dirt and that gravel, so it's really not that much. No need to triple. I've got redstone here, lapis, coal, and Certus quartz. That's quite a bit there. 235 blocks of Certus quartz. These are some of the items I'm not bothering or can't smelt at the moment, although this is just Certus quartz dust. And then there's some Thumbcraft and Ars Magica stuff. I'm not bothering to smelt the dark iron ore unless I need it. I have quite a bit of it sitting there. And then these are the ore blocks that come from the smeltery. I mean, I did get a little bit of mixed metal. I mean, here's 24 blocks of aluminum brass, but I can use those no problem. 3 blocks of electrum. I actually would need more if I did any serious amount of TE. So I also created a filter and a cast basin for glass, so if I wanted to produce glass. Although I would have to worry a little bit about how much glass I try to smelt at once, because I'd have to probably keep it down to only 18 at a time, and then let the tank and the transfer node empty first. Otherwise, that would start backing up the machine. And then the rest of it is just stuff that I'm not smelting or messing with. I've got some ferrous ingots here. I'm not producing ferrous here because I wouldn't get the option of pulverizing it and getting the shiny metal ingots. And then this is some other random stuff. And then this is the first miscellaneous chest. Not truly miscellaneous. This is just stuff that I haven't bothered to barrel up and create a barrel for. And it's got a filter, so any saltpeter will look to enter this chest, any glowstone. Automatically, it'll only put items into this chest that has a type already in it. So I can create a nice little pattern here, and I can have it complete the pattern. I don't have to worry about it getting messed up. It always looks the same, so I can come back to this chest very quickly and easily pull something out. I'm manually converting these blocks using the material below them. There's a way I think I can compress shards and turn them into something else to compress them a little bit, or I could just dump them into a barrel and give them away. So I'm not going to be doing Thumbcraft, so this is all just I can almost start binning it if I wanted to, or give it away. And then these two chests are not filtered, so anything that comes through the quarry or I throw into my ender bag, which is also linked to the same setup, see there's chests are closing, will end up in these chests, so I can get a little bit of extra storage by throwing items from my ender chest or ender pouch into here, and they end up in here somewhere. So I might have touched some grass here, and some NPC loots, and the bees, that was probably from the quarry. I probably threw the apple in there, and then there's some other stuff. I think my quarry actually hit a stone quarry, which is kind of funny, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I've got the power tinker table, which I use to create the power armor. These chests are filled. This has got some machines. This chest I just use for temporary projects I'm working on. I've got a nature chest. I've got some ingot chests where I pull down the blocks and I break them into ingots to craft, and I throw the ingots back in the chest. And I've got some other miscellaneous crafting material chests where I've crafted like buckets and other minor things that are used for crafting other things. And I mean, I got books for the end, the nether, the mining age, which is set up, it's a flat age set up for people that want to set up quarries and all the other stuff. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I've got an uncrafting table. I did a little stint in the Twilight. And that's pretty much it. So let me go ahead, I guess, and show you the quarry. I think we got some of the quarries might have gotten offline. They were trying to fix some of the lag issues. Oh, why did I do that? I just went right back. No, this is the Mistcraft hub. It's not really a Mistcraft hub, being in the Mistcraft dimension. It is it's in the Nether, but because it's not in the overworld, you can use it to bounce back and forth without needing to create interlinking books. And this is the Flat Age. Unfortunately, it's full of dryads, like crazy full of dryads. So here is the quarries. There's still some chunk issues, but okay. See, it looks like he dropped me back down to one quarry. I have 4 quarries. They're probably in that chest there. Okay. I had 4 quarries. They were easily being fueled by this ender tank. Each quarry had 2 biofuel reactors, so they were receiving 32 EU per tick. They were pushing items into the diamond pipe. Of course, I'm really forced to bin, since I have no way of moving items as quickly as an item duct can potentially move. It would attempt to move a little bit of stone, and then in the time it took to move it, more stone would appear, and it would never get to any of the other ores. So I'm binning stone, dirt, and a couple other things, gravel, so it doesn't end up clogging out the system, and just the stuff that I want ends up going through. I could potentially set up some cyclic assemblers here if I wanted to receive the other stuff, and then it wouldn't jam up the system at my main base, which is probably what I might end up doing. I'm hoping he's freed up enough lag I can at least have a second quarry, but we'll see. That is finally it. That's pretty much it. I do plan on hitting some other mods, continuing on and doing AE eventually, but I'm just taking my time, not in a big rush to get to end game. I've done that so many times that every time I start a game now, I want to try things that are new and not rush to end game, and that's pretty much what I've done here. I have spent a lot of time playing around with open blocks and playing around with what's the other mod here? Extra utilities, and I might end up. I have got a single spell of Ars Magica. I'm level 28. I haven't done too much with Ars Magica. I don't even have any Ars Magica machines. I'm using machines belonging to someone else, not machines, blocks. But yeah, here's some of the other houses. This is a pretty nice looking temporary. It's got some bibliocraft tables and chairs. He's got a cool setup here. He has an AE system, but he uses the logistics pipes to call in items from his AE system, which is kind of cool. And then he can use, apparently logistics pipe has a remote that he can walk around with. And then he's got a crazy base. It's the house where I do most of the Ars Magica stuff in, although I don't do much yet. It's a cool little balsa wood house I actually helped put together. Wasn't quite sure how big he wanted it to be, and this is pretty much what we ended up with. Liquid essence. Oh, that's cool. So I'll have to, I'll before I'm done, I'll have all this stuff figured out, what it's about and what it's for. This is a cool house with an idea I've never seen before. I'm sure people have done it before, but check this out. So on the outside we've got mossy stone brick, and on the inside we've got wool panels, and it's only 1 block thick walls. So he's got lots and lots and lots of panels and strips and stuff, and it makes the building seem more realistic because you can have an outer and an inner without needing to have two block thick walls. The house though is more or less just a showpiece. I'm sure he's going to fill it with some bibliocraft stuff. I think there's going to be a ceiling or a ceiling or a second floor that'll get put in. It looks like a second floor, if I had to guess. And he'll be doing that. And then he's got a crazy basement. I think there's like 4 levels. So some people choose to have their houses be just showpieces and maybe do some remote crafting here, or do most of their stuff underground. I'm kind of mixed. I moved all my stuff here, and it's all pretty much in this area in my little 4 chunks, and not look to hide a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, it's completely accessible to anyone who wants to look around. And I kind of did this video partially because some of the guys that come on here, they kind of expect to see banks of engines running on lava or something, and they have no idea how it's fueled, and they've never used these extra utility pipes before, and they see these things running all around and not sure why, and or maybe they've never used the bioreactor and the manufactured bioreactor and used it to produce biofuel before, or other cool things I'm trying out this time around. So yeah, that is my setup for this map this time around. So thanks for watching, and if you guys have any questions, comments, or ideas, then please feel free to comment. Thanks.